Good evening. We are live. We are at Milwaukee Brewing in downtown Milwaukee. We are glad you are with us. Thanks for coming by and saying hello. We are here on the Happy Hour live stream. And glad you are here tonight. We're going to talk. You know what? Happy Hour would not be Happy Hour unless you actually talked beer and beverages and everything else that goes along with it. And joining me today here on the live stream is Dave Hawk, the CEO of MKE Brewing, Milwaukee Brewing, and the founder, Jim McCabe, is here with us today as well. Thanks, guys, for joining us, man, for a couple minutes. This is awesome.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you, let's start out first of all, Jim, because I want to start with you being the founder of this thing, because this has grown exponentially over the years. Where did this start?
This started really in the 90s during the real infancy of craft beer, and I fell in love with the scale of the industry. I was actually traveling out to Seattle a lot and Denver a lot for work, and coming home to Milwaukee, and we have this great beer culture. It was all around these large breweries, but we didn't have anything like what I was experiencing out in those places. As an engineer, I loved the scale of the production and the quality. Obviously the product itself was amazing and like nothing that we were experiencing. And I just knew that, I just got this bug that Milwaukee would really embrace the new beer culture. And so that's kind of the deal. Like,
where was the first batch brewed?
The first batch, I had a horse farm up in Cedarburg. It's actually still there. And I turned the entire basement into overly engineered home brewery where I was, it got to the point where Louis Demise was one of the ones that still is really not changed from the original recipe, and a few others that we bring back as seasonals. But those were tested, tried and true in the basement. And like a lot of people that got in the industry, and I was at about 20 gallons every Sunday and decided I better commercialize this and pay taxes on it.
See, that's what I was going to say is, how do you go from brewing in the basement for buddies to this? Well,
there's a lot of steps along the way. And, part of it is a business plan. Like any business, we had to write a business plan. And, in the mid 90s, there was nowhere really to sell craft beer. I mean, the retail was really limited. So everything pointed to opening up, a cool kind of, I call it West Coast style brew pub, but a big brew pub with lots of space where you could teach people about this style of beer. And that's what the Ale House was. So in 1997, quit the day job, got the Ale House open, relatively small, but technically capable brewery.
Now that's the one downtown Milwaukee.
Still in
Milwaukee Ale House, so people can still go there and
right on the river in the Third Ward. And at the time, the Third Ward was the place to park for Summerfest. About there wasn't much going on, but it was those are cool buildings, so it was perfect for what we were doing. And it was a hand sell, one beer at a time. Kind of educating people not to put salt in our beer, and that the glasses don't need to be frosted every time, and that kind of thing. So, it was a process, and it's incredible to think about the average drinker that was coming in 1997 with our 6 beers, and where beer culture across the country has gone, but Milwaukee and how sophisticated we are now as a beer market.
Dave, you came from the East Coast. You were a Boston guy, so you were always into the lagers and such over there. And you kind of had a roundabout way of getting here as well, because you and I actually went through the same stomping ground. Hell, we went through the same high school systems and the same GCL, together when we were talking about conferences for high school football. So you actually went from there to Cincinnati and then here, right?
It's been quite the journey. I'm a Midwestern kid at heart, Grew up in Cincinnati, German-Irish family, and brewing history back in the day from, my original great-great-great-grandfather came over and was actually in the brewing industry. So it's a long story short, so then I went to college in Boston and started in the beer industry out there, and then moved in the distribution world with the Sheehan family companies to run Beechwood and get the distribution side. And then Jim and I met that way because Beechwood was the distributor for Milwaukee Brewing beer. And so we built a relationship that way with Jim and Mike and Jim Hughes. And when this opportunity came up to really help scale the business to more of a regional or national player in scope and scale, and I thought it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up to work with these guys who've done a great job making beer, and Jim with everything he's done with the building of the brewery to the development of the brand. So really happy to be on board.
What is it like, Jim, brewing beer in Milwaukee with such an incredible brewing heritage to begin with.
Well, that's part of what I always loved about the culture here is, when I was going to Marquette in the early 80s is, I just loved how the city bled pride for the industry and whether it was the Pabst Tour here when this was an active brewery or, the Miller Tour and the big guys, and even going over and visiting Randy Sprecher and his original brewery, those things that, you just ended up taking a lot of pride. The city had a lot of, in County Stadium, when Bernie slid down into the mug, the whole place did a round of beers. I mean,
right.
I loved the beer culture here. And so there was a lot of pressure when I found out the name Milwaukee Brewing Company was available and never had been used. I mean, to brew under the name Milwaukee Brewing Company came with a lot of pressure but also a lot of pride. So the coolest thing about it really is that whether it's the agricultural side of brewing, which it is an agricultural product. We're in Wisconsin, so a lot of raw materials come in locally. But the human resources, it's incredible. Our Mike Barney, one of our valued resources here, is one of the leading guys in fermentation. Because of the beer industry, he's available to us, and that goes to the human resources and availability of knowledge in the city or equipment. It's just incredible.
So I'm downstairs earlier today. You actually have like a little mini lab.
Yeah,
downstairs.
We're right on top of it.
Yeah. So in looking at that, people don't realize it's not just somebody just throwing a bunch of hops in a bin with some yeast and hoping things come out correct.
It's right. I mean, what I loved about the industry was exactly that. As an engineer and a musician, I thought, this is the ultimate like left brain, right brain industry, because you got to be creative, but you better not be afraid of all this stuff. You better not, you got to love so I actually, until I got into chemistry, into brewing in the early 90s, I didn't like chemistry much at all. But, I had a passion for it once I realized it was so critical to brewing. So it is science. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of science involved.
The industry has changed so much, Dave. I mean, you obviously were with Beechwood and a major Budweiser player in the state of Wisconsin, which was unheard of at the time. I know when I got here, the relationship was all Miller all the time, and then it's grown. Budweiser's obviously become a very dominant player here as well. But when you talk about beer, especially here, obviously with Budweiser, you were contacted with people down at St. Louis. But with here in Milwaukee, we grew up where Hudepole and Schaenling was big, down in Cincinnati, the German brewing heritage down there. Talk about the growth of the craft industry, because there's Miller here. You worked for Budweiser for a long time. Talk about the craft growth for the years, though.
Yeah, it's really been really fun to watch. Jim was an early adopter, as were some other local breweries. And over time, being a distributor were that, middle tier between the brewery and the retailer that most consumers see out there. Some people don't realize that. Well, we have a sneak behind the sheets that we're able to see the trends and who's selling what and how much. And in the really early 90s, you could really start to see that both consumers and retailers wanted craft beer, because there was a lot of tap lines that were going to the local guys, which was, natural as people's interest in that category grew. And then, at Beechwood, we needed to ship too. And we shifted big time into craft, and we were, New Glarus's, for only Milwaukee wholesaler early, 1993. And then we just, saw the opportunity to add partners and great ones like Jim and Milwaukee Brewing. And we went out and seeked them for, a long time. That was a big part of my role at Beechwood, was going out and cultivating relationships with the breweries, bringing them to Milwaukee from all around the state. This is the first priority, but also we had national craft breweries too. So it's really been a dynamic changing, and it still continues to grow. People love their local beers, and Milwaukee Brewing is my favorite.
I want to walk people around this place real quick as we take a look, but this place is relatively new. It's a newer building. It's right across from the old Pabst Brewery, and when you walk through the door, this isn't these old stoic, old big stone buildings. This is a really modern place.
It's actually the last building that the Pabst Brewing Company ever built. It was built in 1977, but the renovation we did 4 years ago was a complete one, but it was a blank slate. It was a nice, basic warehouse building that Pabst built, and it was perfect for what we're doing. So this was developed as part office, part brewery. We have more than half of the building, And
this is beautiful, by the way, for people that are watching. That's a great bar if you've never been here.
It's really cool on the rooftop because it's that reverse look at our skyline towards the lake, and it's really spectacular. Plus, you're looking across at the bottle house, which is the original 3-story bottle house from the 1800s. So our tap room is really designed to be able to see the process whenever you're in here. It doesn't matter if you're here for a tour or just coming in on a Tuesday to grab a pint. You can self-guide and watch whatever we're doing. It's a fully functioning. All this equipment was built in Wisconsin. This is a Sprinkman setup that was built in Waukesha, and there's some active brewing going on, and a little throwback to what this place was. Pabst Showcase sign from Summerfest. And
really? Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole story too. So, and do you remember when all the beer stages were there?
I do remember them.
This is fermentation, which gets the best view of the Fiserv. It's, if you look through those tanks, the Fiserv is right there. And this is packaging. So we're able to do bottles and cans have obviously become the very popular package in craft. And there's a little peek of seltzer, which is a whole category to talk about.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question. As we sit here today, the seltzer industry has gone crazy. So how has that affected? We'll start with you. How's that affected you as a brewer, and then we'll talk about the retail side of things after that.
Well, as a brewer, and for the things that I loved about craft beer back when I first fell in love with craft beer in the late 80s and early 90s, the same thing applies here. This is something that really 4 years ago, it wasn't even. It was a change in the law that allowed us to do this in a brewery, is to make what is seltzer now. We were not allowed to do that process. So once that became legal, this opened up a huge creative opportunity for us. And it's very similar to the creative things that go into the flavors that we can create in beer with the 4 original ingredients, water, malt, hops, and yeast, but also all the cool other things we do with tea or other flavorings or fruit. Seltzer opens up a whole world of other flavors. We're really still committed to that craft concept of organic ingredients and still going for, authenticity in those flavors. So we've come up with, things that are interesting to us. Like we're doing this whole Latin-inspired thing with Tierra Buena, and now we're working on some cocktail-inspired flavors that are also Latin-inspired, and it's just a blast. It's similar to the passion and development process of a great beer is all the work that goes into making one of these flavors. So it's similar. It's very similar.
What is the seltzer side of things, because seltzer just took off?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's 10% market share of dollar sales for the whole beer category. Like Jim said, it was a law change that put seltzer into the FMB / malt beverage category. And at the end of the day, it is very similar to beer, because people don't realize there is an art and a craft to making sure you have clean seltzer base, you have the most organic and natural ingredients to put in your body, but the flavor and the impact in the drinks that will be coming out here under our Tierra Buena El Matador series, Bill, are complex. The margarita is something to die for. You can't believe that we can create these alcohol bases, which in essence are no different than there is the alcohol that's in spirits. We're creating a complete, malt base. Well, it's really sugarcane based, alcohol, but from a flavor standpoint, it tastes exactly like a vodka spirited based product. So it's amazing how it all works.
And is this something like you stew about at night and you kind of come up with, or how do you go about doing it?
I think, you don't want to. White Claw was the first one to just kind of really blow this category open. So, you don't want to run into the space and go, I'm going to do a lime, a mango, a berry, and a black cherry. There's all this other stuff. And so just like in the beer categories, you want to try to find things that are enjoyable, that challenge your taste palates and aren't copycat products. So it is really fun to do. I mean, it's no different than the brewing process and the creative side. Much different in the fact that it kind of addresses one of the reasons it took off so quickly, really, is there's in life in general right now in consumer products, there's a big health and wellness movement. And, so, I'm going to have beer Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I'm going to cut my carbs on Tuesday, Thursday. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's an opportunity to still enjoy something that's craft made. And, it fits that category of low carb, 100 calorie premise. So there's a lot of positives to it. And people that are snobby about, well, I'm a beer drinker. Well, me too. I love beer, but I also have a tremendous amount of respect and interest in, and the development side of seltzers is cool.
So what is your biggest seller?
Louis Demise is
it
Jim's original,
still the original
brand, and very proud of it. We didn't tell the story, but it's
Louis.
fabulous.
So Louis was, this is not changed from the original recipe, and this is a great example of how much the craft industry's changed, because these are German hops, and like back in those days, 80% of the hops came from Europe. Now, with all the new modern IPAs, most of the hops in the U.S. come from the northwest part of our country. So this still uses German hops, and it's kind of an alt beer inspired thing. But the story was fun because we had this picture, which I don't know, none of the cameras point to that photo, but there's a photo if you come on the tours that is this 1800s picture. It was my original partner's family, and they're all drinking some dark beer in a cool dimpled mug. And and if you followed Charlie Papazian's The Joy of Home Brewing, he said, if this is getting too complicated, relax, have a home brew. So we'd always be toasting to some family picture, having a home brew. Yeah. And so we got serious about it. We asked his mom what the deal was. Why are they standing there and stiff in that picture drinking a dark beer? And turns out they were at the wake for their great-great-uncle Louis, who got killed in a bar fight in Sheboygan. So we're like, aha.
Okay.
We've been drinking to Louis' demise this whole time. So, and then, things moved along, and we found out that, that Louis got the death certificate. He was whacked in the head by, it was a handwritten death certificate that talked about contusions of the brain and this or that inflicted by a beer glass right in the death certificate. So we're like, this is a good Sheboygan story. And, so yeah, that's how
a tragic one, but a good one.
Yeah,
it's lore.
It's Wisconsin bar lore. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we that thing evolved to where we eventually found out all the backstory on it. And it summarized it as, if you, after midnight, stuff can happen.
Yeah.
And that, Louis had it coming.
And nothing good happens after 2.
Exactly. Well, that's for sure. So nothing you want to talk about.
So how do you determine, when you look at sales, obviously, there's a determining factor as to what you're going to do, but how do you determine when you're going to come out with a beer, when you're not going to come out with a beer, when you're going to discontinue a beer? There's a lot to that.
Yeah, there is. And there's a lot it has to do with, when chain retailers start their evaluation process of brands, when they would potentially be placed on the shelf. And we have to back into a supply chain that takes up to 60 days to get cans from certain suppliers. It takes several months, so the planning process starts really a year in advance. We start thinking about it, and really everything needs to be nailed down for sure by the summer for the following January launches of the product. So there's a lot of product development going on all year, but also our marketing team, which does a great job with graphics for the packaging and also graphics on the cans. I mean, this is a full-blown year-round process that they're working on throughout the year.
So, because I know you guys do charitable stuff, I know you do specialty stuff, all that kind of stuff, where you can change logos, you can change looks, you can make certain things with like certain cans and such. How long does it take something like that to turn around? Like, say a charity walked in through the door and you wanted to say, we'll help you, we'll brew. We were talking about the barrels, about you can have your barrel, pick a barrel, whatever, and then do your own brew and maybe auction something like that off. We were talking about that for something like the Fisher House. So you guys can kind of turn on a dime, but it really, it's not like a special brew just for that particular house.
Well, yeah, we're nimble enough for an example like that. We put out seasonals, and in the old days of bottling, changing a label was really easy. So we'd throw out 5 or 6 seasonals a year, and the beauty of this is all of you guys come into our tap room and into the ale house, and we test it on you, and you say, "My God, when can I get this thing? I've got to." There's
a view of the tap room, by the way, for people that are hanging out.
You're sampling things that we're experimenting with, and we get the direct feedback. It's wonderful, but the part about getting it out to market, if it's just a specialty thing that we're doing for an event or something like that, you're right. We can turn on a dime. We're even to the point where we're doing what we used to do with bottles, and we're putting basically a self-adhesive label on a can so that we can be more nimble on those seasonals. But when you talk about something that's going to be year-round and the distributors have to know what's going on, that's what Dave's talking about. There's an arc and a process to taking it from the tap room to the shelves.
So getting into the charitable side, but you guys do a ton of different events. You guys are a part of a lot of different things. I saw you guys were at a beer tasting for a beer event out of Wisconsin Harley-Davidson earlier this year. But talk about the events because, and we were showing it a little bit earlier, but and I'll show the tap room again, but you guys have not only the tap room, but you have different things that you guys are a part of, not just sitting here brewing beer inside a building and hoping that people happen to stop by and drink it.
Yeah. So now that the city of Milwaukee is loosening things up, we will be releasing shortly our summer event schedule, which will include lots of music, some dock parties. Oktoberfest will be back full force, but then we will also be out in the community with the Beechwood team at their special events, across the city and the state. And then, a new one we're adding that I'll talk a little bit about is an Okachi music festival over the 4th of July, which is really exciting. 3 stages, all local bands. One of the stages is going to be floating on Okachi Lake. That'll be fun. Plus, all the major bands, Almighty Vinyl, Bobby Friss, and Mount Oliver playing during the Okachi at the Okachi Lions Park that weekend. So tons of things in the works, and really happy to see that COVID and all the restrictions are being lifted, and now we'll be able to go full bore on summer events here, and really important too down at our ale house down on the Milwaukee River, because we're going to be big into boating this summer with a lot of fun boating announcements coming out. Things along Milwaukee River is just booming these days.
Right,
it's good stuff.
So what is the, because I was going to ask you about some of the summertime events. So what is it, but you mentioned COVID. I want to go back. What was it like for you guys during COVID?
It was a big hit.
Was it?
All of our hospitality business, in the Milwaukee Ale House really was hurt pretty bad because, no one was working in the third ward. Downtown, we got hit here in our tap room, and most importantly, our customers, our retailers, our bars and restaurants, unfortunately, really took a beating. We're not able to open, limited capacity, so their volumes were down, and sales were down.
How was retail at the liquor stores, at the convenience stores, at pick and saves and such? I mean,
that was better. I mean, that picked up quite a bit. Didn't make up the gap for all that other retail Dave described, but it did pick up. I mean, people were drinking at home. But without that ability to do all the things we normally do, it was kind of steady state. Here's the beers we have. It wasn't the normal excitement about releases and things like that. So it was a different world that, we weren't, it was not the normal fun part of what we do to push new stuff.
Because as a craft brewer, you got to be able to get people out and taste it. Yes. I mean, everybody knows the nationals.
Yeah. Sampling is key, both at the beer festivals and actually we like to call liquid to lips sampling in the stores too.
Right.
None of that was able to happen during COVID. So now it's full bore on, events and our tap room so that people want to try something before they buy it.
Right.
So it's only natural. So we got to put the product in their hand, get them to sample.
Where'd our guy Tony go to bring over the glasses for sampling?
We're gonna
have to get Kristen.
They're right there. The glasses are.
Can you grab us our glasses? Come on.
We can't. It's enough talking about it.
This will. I was going to say we got to. If you're going to do a happy hour, you got to drink.
I'll get the beer.
Tony's not here, so we gotta bring you in. There's Kristen, ladies and gentlemen. How are we looking?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So one of the things that's fun. Beer tasting is beer tasting, right? But I know you're drinking outboard over there right now, but what the biggest thing we can do in a couple minutes is just really show you how different beer is. And this is great for those of you that can't taste and smell this stuff because, we're doing it and we're making all the nummy noises, but I can at least explain and Bill can acknowledge whether he's experiencing what we're experiencing. So one of the big things is finding a glass, canned product is the hot package these days. Everything's in cans because cans are great for beer. Actually, we're 1,000% in support of it. Is there anything left in your outboard, or do you need a freshie?
No, I got a little bit left. Much.
Okay, so outboard is a cream ale, very nice and light.
You want me to pour it in the glass?
You could, yeah. Okay. We got enough glasses, so then you can see what it looks like. And obviously, you described that right as a refreshing.
That is a lighter beer.
Yeah, lighter beer.
Correct.
Yep. It's in the lighter category.
Yeah, and I'm a lighter guy drinker anyway, so
I'm still going to make you sip these.
No, that's okay.
So,
I think I've tried all of them.
So yeah, this is lighter, and the Outboard is a great story of Ole Evinrude, who started the Outboard Marine Company, which eventually became Evinrude. And he started that in the same little hut in the Third Ward as Harley and Davidson.
Really?
They were tinkerers, and they were putting them on bikes, and he figured out how to put them in a boat. So that's the story, and it's a great, refreshing, all year round beer. Like
that's the one I've been drinking. So that's
your
a little
first
bit lighter,
like happy hour go to.
Right.
So you know what that tastes like.
Yes.
So we jumped to Louis Demise, which again we talked
now
about.
Now you can see the difference here. So you can
tremendous
see
color
this is the Outboard.
Right.
This is the Louis Demise.
So as a brewer, that comes from, the malt we use is roasted, just like a coffee bean would be roasted a little bit. You're getting
you can smell it.
Smell that caramely roasted flavor, and you're getting those caramel and honey notes. Totally different than the Outboard.
I can see why that's your top seller.
And that thing, I mean, with anything you're doing this weekend for grilling, it's just a great food beer. It goes with any kind of food.
But it's not heavy.
It's not heavy. It's a balanced beer. That's we always talk about balance. So, even in the age of the crazy hop beers, we never go too extreme on flavor. You always want balance, so people want to have another one, right? So then we move quickly to the Milwaukee IPA, which is in the category of some of the modern IPAs, uses what's called Citra and Mosaic hops. Some of these American hops.
A little bit,
way lighter, right?
Lighter.
Well, IPAs
but it's still darker and a little more orangey than what the Outboard is.
There's orange is exactly right. So there's, the original IPAs were this English bitter, right? These things are much more citrusy, so you get a little.
You can smell the citrus, but you can smell the hops in this thing when you put it up to your nose.
Exactly. So you get a little mango and citrus flavor to that. So again, like wildly different, right? And those are just our three main beers that you get in the variety pack. And then one thing we did since Dave's come on board, this is one of our R&D projects called the Local Haze. This thing is a low-calorie hazy IPA. Hazy IPAs became very popular coming out of the Northwest, and they are literally like thick with hops, right? There's so many hops that you can't see through the beer. It's hazy. Well, we figured out a way to do that with keeping the calories low, but now you can take a whiff of it. It's kind of, you can see it's a little lighter than the other IPA color, but full flavored.
Yep.
That's the trick. So 105 calories.
Compared to this one,
yeah,
they're about the same.
Yeah.
Not much difference.
A little bit lighter on the Local Haze, but there's quite a bit going on in there. And then tell me what you smell. There's a little.
Oh, you can smell and taste
the hops.
The hops in here in this one.
105 calories. Isn't that amazing?
And
a normal hazy IPA, and most people don't, is about 225 to 250
it's like drinking a cider.
Calories a serving. And
we did this at half.
Has developed a 105 calorie, full flavored, low cal IPA.
So another great summer option. But the point is, as you go through this world of craft beer, and as mature as craft beer is, there's so much to experience, right? So there's a beer for every mood, a beer for every food, and that's kind of the way to approach it. So when people ask what your favorite beer is, it's usually occasion based. So whether we're out on Okachi, we're probably going to grab an Outboard or a local at that event on 4th of July, or if we're grilling, we're probably going to grab a Louis.
So I'm going to play the video again because I want people to see you got a lot of things going on down here. They can come here. Obviously, and they can come here and they can hang out and taste things and do exactly what we did. And goes on the roof. There's a whole gift shop. There's you guys are actually, the building is attached to, what's it named now? What is the
Bottle House 42.
Bottle House 42. So that you can actually eat next door. You can have the beer over here. There's all the different things you guys have to offer or have created. But they can go upstairs on the rooftop in the summertime. You guys got music and such here. But talk about the growth of, because you're not just in Milwaukee and you're not just in Wisconsin. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a great craft brewing history in the state of Wisconsin, but you guys have really exploded.
Yeah, I think, when I came on board with Jim and the team, and, there was such an opportunity to expand Milwaukee Brewing's footprint to more than just Wisconsin. So that's kind of where, the opportunity came in with some of these brands like Tierra Buena. We were getting a lot of great feedback from wholesalers that they were looking for something different than White Claw. They wanted some of these new age beverages, in this case seltzer, that were health and wellness driven. So we started, a national network, and that's where we do have products in the Carolinas and Pennsylvania and Texas, and we're just goes and working that route right now. Seltzers, then our craft cocktails, Tierra Buena, El Matador series are be heading to those wholesalers, and along with our beer products that make sense for the national market. But it's a tricky balance because a lot of people are loving local craft beer.
Right.
So we're just making sure we put the right product out there at the right time. And in Milwaukee, the beer will eventually come, especially with products that are low cal, low carb, and things that really fit into this major movement in the alcoholic beverage world.
Now, is it mass in grocery stores and such all throughout, or is it specialty stores only? And the reason being is because it's kind of cool when we were just recently in Florida and you're seeing things of local interest down there. You're seeing it like when I go back to Ohio to see my family. You see stuff like that there. It's pretty cool. Is it massed like that, or is it small areas?
Depending upon the state. I mean, we are in certain chains and in different, depending upon the local nature of it and when we came to market. In some cases we'll be in the shelf sets for the next round of resets that happen in these chain retailers, but so it's market by market.
So, Jim, as you start to sit here and think about the next year, what is the next creation?
The next creation. Well, Dave teased out the word El Matador. So that's the bull, the larger version of Tierra Buena is coming out. That's really exciting. And then we're on the beer side. There's more innovation. We're doing to our heritage again. We're doing an entire German series that's coming out, and so that's going to be coming out 4 in a row, and then those will be available throughout the year. And it's a really cool looking package that we're going to be, we'll be promoting it. Everybody's going to hear about it. But some classic styles with a new twist. So that's really exciting. We've got a twist on our outboard coming out. We've done it in the tap rooms. Again, we experimented with mango in our outboard, and that's been popular.
Okay.
So those are some of the summer things. And then, we've got barrels. We finally have all this room to stack barrels. We never had that room on 2nd Street. So we've got a lot of fun things aging in bourbon barrels and gin barrels right now. So
what is it when you take a beer and you put it in a barrel?
What is it you're getting? So bourbon is the American bourbon goes into a charred oak barrel for 8 to 12 years. And when it comes out, it's been, there's a lot of that great liquid that's seeped into the oak and a lot of flavor there. So you throw a beer in there, you get that wood flavor, the char flavor, and some of the nice caramely character of the bourbon itself. And so that's complementary to certain beers. So Louis Demise, we brew a strong version of that goes really well with bourbon. But we, the more classic thing is to put like a giant stout in there and you then do things with fruit and other things to enhance it. So a lot of very fun and flavorful big beers that you can do in that. And then the gin barrels we do are tea-infused Imperial Wit, and that's a World Beer Cup winning combination is the gin barrel, where gin is aged in a barrel. Then we put the OG in there later, and that has such a complex flavor that we got a World Beer Cup gold medal for that.
Wow, so, that's which in the business is huge. It's huge recognition from outside looking in, right?
Right.
So now one of the things that I think is so cool, and I've been down here when I see kids with wagons.
No.
So you got to talk about the beer club, because we are in downtown Milwaukee, and people need to know that. But there is MATC, there's UWM, there's some Marquette, there's some college area students down here who need a little help.
It's not just for college. This isn't just a bargain. It's also if you feel good about the environment. So what we do is there's a lot of packaging in beer, right? And then as a brewery that has sustainability at our core values, some of that's painful when someone's, we're shipping a beer all over the city for them to go get and bring home when they could come to the brewery and get it directly. So what we do is we actually put the beer cans or bottles into milk crates, and everybody has their own personal milk crate, and it's build your own variety pack, basically. That's the carts you see coming in. People grab 2 or 3 milk crates. They come in, and for a good price, they're able to come right into the brewery and build their own variety packs
that's cool.
For a great price. No packaging involved.
Right.
They have a reusable milk crate. and it's fun, and you're engaging with the brewery. It's fun, and you're doing the right thing for the environment.
Yeah, there's everything down here. Whether you want to come in, I just showed the tap room area before, and I want to show it again real quick. But there's so many things down here. You guys have bags inside. You guys have obviously televisions. You have sporting events down here. Whether you're going to any of the games down here, you can see, all the different things on television. Obviously, Packers, you guys are big for that. Plus, like I said, there's food next door if you want to choose to do that. But you guys do a lot of interactive stuff, which is really cool. And it's an eclectic. You can see down there now. It's an eclectic age. You got people in business suits, and you got kids strolling in. 21-year-olds.
21, yes.
It's great to see people coming back to the city and coming back downtown.
They're kids to us, Jim.
So true.
It's great, though. The Bucks are going to 100% capacity.
Yes.
Brewers, so it's really rolling into a great summer in Milwaukee.
It seem like it's
really opening up,
like ready to bust.
Oh, yeah.
Like people have just been cooped up. I mean, everywhere I go, people are like, take the mask off, And
it's happening. I mean, people are ready to be out, and they're thrilled to be out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's it. Anything else before we get out of here?
Bill, it's always a pleasure. It's always great to see you in here, and whether we're chugging a beer or doing this.
Yeah. So, you know what? Let's do that. You got one? Here, let's do this. We got to do this. Come on.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
We got to do this.
I'll put one plug in for your charity ride for the Fisher House.
Yes.
And, at the end of that's Labor Day weekend, always the Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
We believe we're starting here.
Yeah, we'll be starting here.
There was a chance we might do something else, but we're waiting to find out.
Milwaukee County, the city of Milwaukee, we need some permits.
It's pretty cool when it starts here. There's hundreds of bikes. It's a cool
500 bikes.
It's
everything blocked.
Gives you a big chill when things are going on.
Yeah, when you get everybody in here, it's really cool. Yeah. But when everybody starts and you see that line of bikes pulling out of 9th Street out in front of this place, it's really cool. Guys,
Bill,
cheers. Bill, thanks.
Cheers. Thanks for everybody for paying attention to us and hanging out with us. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching. We got a bunch of people on the stream. This is one of our biggest ones ever. The next time we do it, we're going to be live from the Wisconsin State Fair. We're going to be out there for the Bud Pavilion, the opening night for the Bud Pavilion. We'll have Executive Director of the Wisconsin State Fair, Kathleen O'Leary, with us as well. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. Thanks for you for watching. Until then, time for us to go. Have a good one. See ya.